Welcome to Last Week in Warframe, a series where I keep you updated on the past week of Warframe by compiling all DE announcements and news from Twitter, Reddit, the Warframe forums, and even their YouTube live streams. So without further ado, let's go over these announcements and news from the 1st of September to the 7th. Starting this week's episode off, we did have the Prime Vault going live across all platforms, so you can now farm for Saryn Valkyr Prime, the Valkyr Prime, Cernos Prime, Nikana Prime, and Spyro Prime. And if you don't want to farm for them, you can of course purchase them outright from the Prime Vault page on the Warframe website, where you can purchase each individual pack depending on what you want, accessories, a single Warframe, or the dual pack that comes with everything. But moving on, PC players had Hotfix 25.7.3 that did release the Prime Vault on that platform, and that came with a change where you can now load 1000 note songs that you have recorded, but the chat link limit remains 100 notes. They've also made optimizations and fixes which are up on your screen if you want to read them, or you can listen to me read them in my own video on the hotfix. But for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and Nintendo Switch, you guys simply just had a hotfix that brought in the Prime Vault items. There were no changes or fixes that came with that. Now, after the Prime Vault hotfixes and whatnot, we had 25.7.4 on PC that made the following major changes. So with 25.7, they made the rendering changes to metallics and whatnot. After player feedback, they've made further changes to it to bring it back into what the community would like, with them saying, quote, "We've applied a shader change to the entire game for an overall wash of the dull metal textures to reduce roughness. This should be most noticed on characters where your fashion frame eye is trained to spot imperfection. Please keep in mind that even though rendering is more accurate and consistent now, some legacy materials could suffer. So let us know if you see anything funky." They also made the following disruption changes, with the following change only applying to arbitration disruptions. So rewards are now given at the end of round 2, and in order to extract you must complete 8 conduits. But for the baseline disruption game mode, joining a disruption mission in progress will now lock when either 2 conduits are completed or 1 conduit has failed, as opposed to locking after 1 conduit has been completed or failed. They've also made changes to a number of markers to reduce clutter. So markers only show for active conduits or if a player has picked up a conduit key. 1 marker will always be shown if there are no active conduits and no conduit keys picked up, and conduit keys on the ground for a matching conduit will be removed as soon as it is activated. For the Shawzin, they added custom Shawzin keybind settings for keyboards and controllers, with keyboard defaults changing, so fret keys have been moved from mouse buttons to arrow keys, and controller defaults have changed, so exit is now the start button, which is unbindable, so it does not cause accidental Shawzin exits. They've also changed it so notes are defaulted to the bottom 3 buttons. On top of that, they added back unique open and close sounds for the Nalumbo Shawzin. For Gauss, his battery meter now builds when reviving a teammate, and Universal Syndicate medallions now work on Vent Kids and Samaris. They've also gone through with stopping a change that was going to happen based on quote-unquote player feedback from Conclave players, where Universal medallions will not work for Conclave, saying, quote, "It didn't feel right to add PvE paths for a PvP game mode, especially towards those who have actively played Conclave to get their standing. Apologies for the chain yank." End quote. There has been a lot of community response to this decision, and I'm curious what DE will say in regards to that, if they say anything at all. They've also made Taurid changes and fixes, so they have fixed Taurids not dropping from non-Rachnoid enemies at the Spaceport, Research Base, and Temple of Prophet, and they've also increased the drop rate to 2%. For the changes, they further decrease the max size of Atlas's rumblers ever so slightly, so that they no longer get caught in certain doors. Sniper scopes and mining will no longer show the player if they're cloaked and zooming in. They've removed Nightwave tips that were showing incorrectly for certain item previews. The unowned label in ModLink previews will now only appear when you don't have at least 1 mod. They tweaked interception heads-up displays by moving and aligning the UI. They removed railjack binding options from the controller customization screen and removed a radar dish in the Plains of Eidolon due to it blocking a turret from firing. They had also made the displayed fixes, which are up on your screen, as I just said. Now, in regards to DE's announcement of the not-so-universal medallions not working for Conclave, a player did reply on the Warframe forum saying, "I can understand the reasoning for this, but Conclave is currently difficult to get into for many players. It would be appreciated if you guys could take another look at opening the mode up, or maybe featuring more PvP events to help drum up interest and boost the player count." Where DE Megan did reply, "That's the plan, smiley face." Going back to Xbox players, to celebrate the 5th anniversary of Warframe on Xbox One, you can get a number of items just by logging into the game before the 1st of October at 11 AM Eastern Time. So you will get the Jade Broca Syandana, the Jade Dex Dakra skin, and a Former. You will also be able to play a number of alerts and get the Jade Excalibur Noggle with 10,000 credits, the Jade Rhino Noggle with 10,000 credits, the Jade Dex Furus skin and 10,000 credits, and you'll also be able to buy an Xbox One color palette and Jade Excalibur Glyph for 1 credit in the in-game market. Once again, for Xbox players, that ends on the 1st of October at 11 AM Eastern Time. Continuing onward into the news from the week, DE Taylor did reply to another Tennogen post where someone asked, "After the deadline for 17, is it still possible to still submit updates to the Tennogen files in the Steam Workshop or Tennogen program to quote-unquote qualify for round 17, or is the last update and submission considered quote-unquote final after the deadline?" Where Taylor said, "We review items immediately after the deadline closes, so any additional changes that are made will not be considered. If we are still interested in accepting a piece that needs a few final tweaks, we will work with the creator to get those done after the deadline, but that is only handled on a case-by-case basis." Next up, the DEconstructing podcast, episode 6, is live on its platforms, so YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, and Deezer. So if you want to listen to a conversation about environment art, make sure to listen to it. Digital Extremes also announced that Warframe will be at TwitchCon 2019, so if you want to go there I guess. It's the 27th of September, it's a Friday, as well as the 28th of September, which is a Saturday. They also announced that they won't be having a TennoVIP event for TwitchCon this year. Now, for developer Reddit posts, we had DEKillerKarpFen replying to a player's post about a breakable crate being stuffed into some geometry, and that a I-10 star cannot be gathered because, well, it's in the geometry. DEKillerKarpFen went through a number of questions and said he'll figure out how to fix it. He also said he'll fix the hole in the Void and Derelict Extraction tiles. It's a little hole, but it's still a hole. He also said he fixed an issue with the Corpus Ice Planet Sabotage Reactor Room's medallion being in an invisible wall. Now for developer tweets, we had DE Pablo first, replying to a player asking, "When we put in someone's song, we can't save it. Can that please be something soon?" Pablo said, "Not soon, unfortunately. We just added 30 extra slots to Ribbons. We'll see how the dust settles on the database after that and go from there." In reply to an image that Steve put out, pre-fix that came in the hotfix that I mentioned before on PC, in regards to the metallics, someone said, "Sorry, but you made it worse now. Now even material that is supposed to be leather has metal gloss reflection. It made it looks like they're laminated with plastics. It just looks wrong." Where Steve said, "Agreed, tuning next week." He had also replied to someone tweeting out, "Sorry Steve, but no one is liking the new visuals from the main line. Will there be a fix to hard-boiled orbiters? Found this with 5,000 likes," where he showed a comparison of before and after the rendering changes in 25.7. Steve said, "We're not done just yet, but keep in mind we updated it on Friday." Lastly, for Vauban fans, Retalius did release a 50-minute Ultimate Vauban Rework Guide video, and DE Scott did reply to it on Twitter saying, "90 mins, better grab a beer." Scott later replied with an update saying, "So before watching, I had finished my paper on version of Vauban's rework, watch video, and happy to say we came to some similar conclusions. Going to bounce the rework around the office to let others chime in. Hopefully we can post a version soonish." So for those interested in what a Vauban rework might look like, make sure to watch that video. But DE Scott later released a small little video saying, "Work has begun, too many balls in this vid," with a little clip showing a bunch of little balls that spread across the room and follow Vauban around. But anyway, that does conclude this episode of Last Week in Warframe. If you found the video informative, make sure to leave a like. If you think I can improve upon the series in any way, shape or form outside of sharing my own opinion, make sure to leave it in a comment down below. If you want the channel glyph, it is up on your screen. They are one-time use codes. If someone else has already used them, that means you cannot use that individual code. If they're all used, well, watch another episode. If you missed out on last week's episode, click the annotation on your screen if it is there, and it will take you right to it. Thanks for watching, see you guys next time. Now for developer tweets, we had someone saying, "Hi,